Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Life with Loverly podcast. I have an extra special guest today, which is very fitting. I've got my mom back on the podcast. Hi, Mom.
Hi, sweetie.
I'm so happy that you're on the podcast. I was thinking through what I was going to be doing on Collins's first day of kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to want to be with my mom because I'm probably going to be sad. So maybe she wants to record a podcast that day. So, yeah. Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Glad to be here.
We have some fun stuff we're going to talk about today, but first we are going to get into kindergarten drop-off.
Mm-hmm.
I have not answered any of her questions yet on how it went this morning.
Mm-hmm.
They did so good. It was, I think Collins was a little bit nervous, just in a new place.
Yep.
She was so excited when she woke up, but I don't know. It was a little, I definitely had some big feelings as I was leaving her.
Yes.
She was sitting at her little desk and she was kind of like looking at all the stuff,
things. Yeah.
you know, and she's just not used to it yet.
Right. It's a new thing. She's been, staying where she's been for a while, for a couple of years. And so she's been used to that. And this is all new. So
yeah,
she's just trying to figure it all out, I think.
Well, and so she's sitting there and I'm like, she's just looking around and I'm like, okay, I should just leave. But then I had this like sense of, is she going to be okay? Like, you know,
panic. All of a sudden.
Did.
Yes.
Whereas with Hazel, I was like, okay, bye. Like, you got this in pre-K.
Yeah.
Even though she wanted to hold on a little bit more. But
yeah. With
Collins, she's just so, she likes to know what she's getting into.
Oh, imagine that.
So are you saying that's how I was?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
You're a planner. So
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and she is too.
Well, and I keep thinking of like this time next week, they're just going to be like hopping out of the car and bye, going into my class.
Yep, they will.
So you were a teacher for several years. I know you taught pre-K and elementary. What would be some of your advice for like new parents whose kids are going to school this coming school year?
I think the number one thing that I would have to say is that your kids are going to be okay.
Yeah.
And even though they're a little nervous too, and they want to do this, but they're really scared, and they may start crying. But the best thing I think as a parent is you can just let them be. You know, even if they're crying, just go ahead and say, "I've got to go." The teachers know to help, and they will take your child from you. And I promise that as soon as you are out of sight, there's no more crying. Yeah. I mean, the kids would just stop crying and then all of a sudden they're fine.
Right.
So I would try to tell my parents that, on parent teacher night, it's going to be okay. They're going to stop crying.
Right.
So I think it's harder on the parents really than it is the child, because the child's getting ready to have a lot of fun. So
right. Yeah. Chris and I looked at each other and we were both like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
And it was definitely, I think it was good for today was like the first day and all of the parents were like dropping the kids off. Whereas starting tomorrow, they really encourage you to just like drop them off in the car rider line.
Yeah.
And so I think that will be probably a little challenging for them to just be like, where are we going? But then it will just get into like routine.
Yeah.
It's just so different because where they were before was just like, they've been there for so long. Yeah. It was all little people in the school. Yeah. Whereas now this is like a school and there's older kids and it's just so different.
It is. But I think they're in a good place, and I think as parents you have to decide where that good place is, and then you have to trust that they're going to be taken care of. So
totally,
the whole school usually has plans out, people there to help out, and you have to trust that and just kind of let them do their thing, and then the quicker they can get into a routine, the better off it is for the child. So
it's just crazy. I'm very excited to pick them up and just see how was it and hear all about it. Yeah. So I know they're both going to be, we woke up this morning, they we like set their little hatch, their little lights to turn on a little bit earlier. They both like slept through those.
Yeah. Did they?
And so I went in and I was like, okay, good morning. It's time to go. Today is our first day. And they're both like, is it morning outside? Like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Like, I promise it's morning, but
get up.
I know it seems like it's still dark out. So it's just wild that I'm going to have to get back in that routine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is. And I think giving yourself as much time as you can, especially at the beginning until you get into that routine, because it is new for everybody, but you do need to be there at a certain time. Yeah. And so you've got to, and it's good for them because you're teaching them that schedule is important. We've got to get up at this time. We can't lollygag. Yeah. Maybe giving them an opportunity to have, like on Saturday, and Sunday we'll be able to sleep a little longer, or we'll, but when we're going to school, we got to get up and go. So,
well, and they were so excited to make their lunches.
Oh yeah. That's awesome.
We haven't done like lunches before.
Yeah.
And so they were both just like, okay, what'd you put in there? What's in there? And like helping they like prepped some things last night and it was just so cute. I definitely think they'll continue to do that.
Absolutely. And I think doing that young too, a lot of times parents think that they've got to do everything for their child. And if you can just teach them to do some things on their own, then it becomes more excitement to them instead of a chore. And then when it actually is a chore, it's just habit and they know how to do it. So
totally. Yeah. We're working on that with making the bed.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Collins is like, she's more into it. And Hazel's like, are you going to make it?
Yeah.
Like, no.
Right.
You are.
Yeah. That's the difference between kids.
It's very funny. Okay. Do you have any memories from dropping me off at kindergarten?
Yeah. I would have to say that, more dropping you off when you were like, you went to K3 first. So you had a K3, K4, where you went to school.
Yeah, and then it was like kindergarten was just like already.
So kindergarten, you'd been there. Yeah. So for me, it was more K3, but you were just ready to go. That's just the way you were, and so you were fine. I didn't have a problem with that. You were like, okay, I'm here. Let's go. I'm ready to go. And yes, I think there was those nerves, because I think as a parent, you want to try and portray that this is a good place for you to be. And I'm dropping you off and I'll come back and get you. And, but you want to try and not show them that you're afraid.
Emotional.
Yeah. Because if you start showing them emotional, it's probably going to scare them a little bit. Yeah. So I think as parents, you've got to really try to hold tight till maybe you get back in the car and cry or whatever. I mean, I remember doing that when I dropped you off at college, that was worse for me than dropping you off at kindergarten. At kindergarten, you were ready to go. At college, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like leaving you. And but I remember not crying when I walked out. And then as soon as Dad and I were walking through the parking lot to get into the car, I lost it. And I could not stop crying. And he's like, what? I'm like, this is just the hardest thing ever. But so it was harder for me then.
4 hours away.
Yes.
And I remember Dad saying you like cried the whole way home.
Oh, it was crazy. I think maybe all the years of all dropping you off at all the places and being strong, then I just became mush. So. But
it's crazy. I remember like watching home videos that Dad had, like, and he's like recording us on our first day of school, and he's like, yes, how do you spell your name? And and you're just running around in the background like crazy trying to get everything ready.
Right, because I was the one that was taking you guys, and I had to be at school at a certain time too. And so I look at those now and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at me. I was just running around like a crazy woman in the background.
And Dad's just like patiently like, do you know how to spell your name? And then like Jared's doing who knows what, like just rolling around.
Right.
And it's
he was
like,
just like, here, we're not, it's not my first day at
I
school. It's her first day at school.
That's what I think of when I think of those like early days.
Oh, that was funny. That was very funny.
What about, I know some people, this episode's going to be going live like next week. So there's going to be some people who are like actively like transitioning from their summer schedule to their school schedule. Do you have any tips on like what you would suggest as a former teacher, or like kind of what you did for us on just making that transition a little smoother?
One of the things we did, or that I felt was important, was, reading, of course, and at that age, you're not really reading yet. So, but giving you the opportunity to have books in your hands.
Yeah.
And so I felt like it was important, okay, we're going to be in a new routine. This is the time that we're going to turn the lights out, but we are going to do something new, and we're going to like read. I'm going to let you read books for 30 minutes before we turn out the lights.
Yeah.
And so I would actually say, 8:00 was our bedtime. And so then I would say, get in bed at 8, get all your books, the ones that you want to read. And I'd just let you pick like 5 or 6, or we'd actually gone to the public library and checked books out. And then I said, okay, like 30 minutes, you've got 30 minutes. And at 8:30, we're going to put our books away and we're going to turn out the light, because we got to get ready. We got to get ready and be on, a schedule. So I think it's really important to try and get them on a schedule as much as you possibly can. And then giving them an opportunity to just have those books by themselves. You don't necessarily have to read them. If you do still want to read to them, then, you could come in the last 10 minutes if you want.
Yeah.
But, and just read one book to them. But it gives them an opportunity to look at the books and then go, which one do I want to read? So,
yeah, we started trying to do a little bit of like early bedtime, or kind of like getting back in like, because in the summer it's kind of like, you want to like go swim late or be outside, or
which it should be.
Yeah.
That's your break time. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
But now I feel like Hazel has been like sleeping in, and she's kind of like, if you poke the bear, like you're gonna get like the angry version of her. So she really needs to like wake up on her own, but she would need to go to bed earlier. So we've been just kind of trying to get them back in the routine. And thankfully I feel like because they were somewhere all summer on a routine going into like, we still called it school, even though it was just like their daycare.
Right.
It kind of helped them stay on that routine. And so like to them, this is just going to like a new place, but they're already been so used to going somewhere and like taking a backpack and that type of thing.
Exactly.
But getting them back in and just talking with some friends about like, okay, like we're like starting like the nighttime routine earlier.
Yep.
Just everybody kind of getting back into a groove.
Exactly. And even with like Hazel in the morning like that too, because Jared was more of a sleeper too, was just, if you can just open the door, open the lights, and then just let her be. Like she may kind of start stirring and waking up on her own, and while you're going over to make sure Collins is, which she'll,
she's like,
she's got, I'm
already
here.
like
She's
downstairs
standing in the
fully dressed, like ready to go. I'm like, okay, I'm not yet, so hold on.
Yeah. So, and just making noise, a little bit of like noise, so that Hazel knows, or what am I missing? You know? And then it's like, okay,
and she's definitely started to be like, will you come and get me first? Like, don't get Collins first. You know, and I'm like, well, Collins is just waking up.
Yeah.
But Hazel still thinks that like we have to come get her out of her bed.
Oh yeah.
Because she's so
adorable.
Is like, I mean, we just transitioned her out of her crib. She was never trying to hop out, and our pediatrician was like, just keep her in until like you really need to switch her. So we said at her 4th birthday, we get her big girl bed. But she like won't get out of the bed. So I'm like,
which can be good too.
Yeah.
But still,
which I'm like, we're gonna just keep on that for now, and then I'm sure we'll obviously tell her,
yes,
you need to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night.
Like
she fell out of her bed the other night. And then she was like sitting there just crying, and she was like, Mama. And I came in, I was like, it's okay, you can get back up. Like, or, and she was like, well, I can't get out of my bed. And I was like, okay, well, you can get back in your bed. You don't have to just sit on the floor. It was so cute though. I was like, well, I appreciate you following the rules, but
oh my gosh,
I know.
That's so cute.
Okay, so from your teacher experience, if a child is having difficulty in school, whether from curriculum or social perspective, what's the best way to approach / team up with the parent for the child's success?
I think the most important thing is your communication with parent and teacher communication. And I just think you just need to keep consistent communication so that you can make sure things are okay.
Yeah.
Like if you just meet with them once, you're going to hear what the problems are and all that. But then I think as a parent, you need to go ahead and try to contact the teacher again. Ask how things are going. Is there anything that I can do more of? Is there anything that I can do to assist this or make this easier?
Even the follow-up with just hey, I know we discussed this, but I wanted to check back in. How's this going?
Yeah. Don't wait. I don't think it's good to just wait for something else to happen.
Right.
Because if there truly is something that the child is having a difficult time with, then it's probably not going to resolve quickly.
Yeah.
Unless there is that consistency where you have the consistency of the teacher that's doing what they need to be doing at school, and the administration, or what you can do at home as a parent too. Because I think it's teamwork.
Yeah.
And I think the stronger you keep that team, the better off it is for everybody involved.
Okay, what about, I know sometimes obviously the teacher is not trying to deliver bad news or negative news or just hey, we really need to work on this.
Right.
What are some advice obviously you're a parent, so I'm sure you received the news from our teachers, but then being a teacher, just how can parents take that advice and not feel attacked, because sometimes
Correct.
I feel it's so easy to just be well, my kid is the best. How could you even think that? But you're okay, and part of this open communication and trying to team here.
Yeah.
You need to hear this is what's really happening.
Correct. One of the reasons why I also think that the communication needs to be really good is because teachers are different. You're going to have a different teacher every year. You're going to have different personalities. And I think it's really important for you to keep that communication so that you can work through things. As a parent, as a teacher, if there's a problem and I'm going to call my parent and say, Joey's having this problem and blah, 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 blah. It's probably been happening a little bit, and the teacher has been trying to handle it maybe on her own, because I'm not going to go to the parent for everything.
Right.
I've got to, as a teacher and a system, we have to try to handle it on our own the very best that we can. So if a teacher does come to a parent, I think if parents could realize that they've tried to solve the problem, they're just letting you know, and then maybe letting you know so that maybe you have some advice that you could give, at home. When this happens, this is what we do, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But I think as a parent, just trusting that they're trying to do this and take care of it at school. If they do come to you, then just listen.
Yeah.
And just see if there's something that you can do to help out. But then I think that's where, again, if the teacher comes to you, then you as a parent need to really stay close and
follow up,
stay connected. Stay connected. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Another question from your teacher perspective. What were some elements or characteristics that you saw in your students that would typically lead to success in adulthood?
I think for kids that were, just structured or kind of more outgoing, a little bit more outgoing, I felt just kind of had things more, I don't know, they could do things a little bit quicker. They could handle things a little bit better. I felt what I tried to do as a teacher, for those that were, maybe quieter, you as a teacher have to pick that out in your group of children. And so if you do have a child that's just a little bit more quiet, more subdued, hopefully the teacher is going to try and draw that out.
Yeah.
So I would be on the lookout for those children as well. The other children that were self-motivated, you didn't have to worry about them as much.
Yeah.
But with the other children, I felt like I would try and question them, or when we're out at recess or whatever, I would pull them aside and I would try and have them, open up a bit more. I would ask them questions, like try to get them to just come out of their shell a bit, because I think that's where they needed their help.
Right.
So, and then I would also pair them up with, like, if it was still really, really hard, I would try to get one of my kids that were more outgoing. And I would say, why don't you go over and ask Molly if she wants to play with you, or ask, and, just try and have it come from maybe a peer.
Yeah.
And, it would be somebody that I trusted, that I thought would be nice to the other child as well.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think even in just this like short time that we've been talking, it's interesting how important like the role of a teacher, like there's so many things that they are doing for the children throughout the day besides just like teaching them. It's all these things that they are like just aware of, social cues, hey, she likes this, hey, this. It's just like communication with parents. It's just
so much.
There's a lot that goes on.
There's a lot that goes on in a classroom, and there's so many variables and things that are going on that teachers really have to become aware of, and they usually are.
Right.
They've got to just be aware of everything that's going on. So,
man,
it's a job.
Seriously.
It's a great one, though. And I always thought of the kids in my classroom. What would I do if these were my kids?
Yeah.
So I tried to,
I feel like that's a great way to look at it. And I mean, that probably gave the parents this feeling, like sense of just like you are taking care of them.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I know that your parents definitely felt that, like as you were taking care of their students.
Right. And I told them, they knew we had kids, because I let them know at the beginning, I've got kids. I understand.
Yeah.
I'm doing the same thing. And so that just helps.
It was funny because I think it was maybe Hazel's teacher, or maybe it was Collins's teacher. I don't know. One of them, when we did the Meet the Teacher, Hazel was kind of, a little timid. And I was just like, well, did you know that she actually has 3 kids too? Yeah. And so she knows all about like being with kids, and she's a mom just like I am. And, because it can be scary for like a little kid to be like, who are you? I've never seen you before.
Right,
but
that's
just
that
like
was a
finding
great idea.
like a common ground of like, she's a mom too, and she's going to be your teacher.
Yes. And, trust, if there's a way that you can
like help
bridge that gap. Yeah.
I know you've experienced this just with being at our house and seeing Hazel eat, a little picky eater. I don't remember being a picky eater. Was Jared picky, or either of us?
I don't feel like you were. I mean, I tried to just like have you try everything. And then if you didn't like it, then you really didn't like it. I tried to put on your plates what you liked, so you could be successful as an eater.
Right.
And I felt like you guys were pretty good eaters.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like it was too picky. I really didn't.
I know. It's I feel like the things I remember about like eating, I was that first child, like the rule follower, eat what's on your plate, like great.
Yep.
It was more eating dinner with Hazel reminds me of eating dinner with Jared as a child.
Yeah. And I think it's like the second child. I think that they're younger. They're busy. They're, they're looking at the older sibling.
Yeah.
And so I think basically that's what it was,
right,
and what it is. And And,
she's trying to like get her attention. And then it's like, I'm going to bounce all around. And,
or everybody's eating and then they're talking.
Right.
And telling us about all this, that, and everything. And then all of a sudden everybody's done and they're still going. So,
I mean, literally remember core memories sitting at the dinner table, just like eating, listening to Jared. And then us being like, okay, now you need to finish.
Yep.
And you would just be.
Yeah. Well, many times we moved from the table to the bar and I would just put his plate up there, put him at the bar, and I probably should have taken his plate away and I'd just start doing dishes. But then I would put on a timer probably at the end.
Yeah.
When I was finishing dishes, I'd be like, okay, you've got 3 minutes left and then the dishes have to go on.
Yeah, then we got to go.
And whatever's not there, is not there. So, and if the big thing was dessert, if you can have a little, like something. Whatever it is, a little something that they can have, then this goes, okay, you got to eat this and then you can have dessert or you can't have that till you finish. So
it's so funny.
Yeah.
Just like watching.
Yes.
I know. Because Collins will really try anything and she's more like flexible with what's on her plate. And Hazel is like, ew, no, I am not trying that.
Yeah.
She will put up a fight a little bit more.
Yeah. If you can get them to just have a bite too. Yeah. And I feel like she'll take a bite.
She will.
She'll take a bite, but
yeah.
And then she'll, sometimes she'll go on and like it, but she's funny.
She's really dramatic though.
Yeah.
Like in her, like she'll take a bite and then she'll be like, I gotta like spit it up. And I'm like, oh my, it is not. Trust me, bad. We would not let you try something that was gonna hurt you or that was bad for you.
Yeah.
Little drama is definitely her.
Yeah.
Okay, so another question. Jared and I are both pretty successful in our own rights. Is there a parenting tip that you feel like you did differently than others, or just anything you could share on how you kind of, in raising us? I know this is something my friend Teresa is always like, gosh, I just want to pick your mom's brain. Like, what did she do to like raise you guys to like be so successful in your careers? What are your thoughts?
Oh, I think being a teacher was really helpful because I saw a lot of children, a lot of behaviors, a lot of this, that. So it's almost like you guys are little experiments. I was like, okay, if this is, I've got to be careful not to do this and that or whatever. I think that, consistency in, trying to keep everybody on a schedule, even though at times it's hard and you've got one child that's maybe more schedule oriented and another that's not. Okay, well, then you've got to find ways to help this child to try to be on a schedule. And that might still be a difficult thing to do. And you may struggle with it your whole life with it. But that's just, I think scheduling is really important. I think the other thing is communication is huge. If there's any issues or you're having problems or anything, I just think talking to your kids as much as you can, having open discussions, which means, spending time with them, spending quality time with them. A lot of times the best place for communication for us, I felt, was in a car.
Yeah. I remember some conversations that you would be like, so...
Yes.
I found this, and I'd be like, I can't get out of this car.
That's right.
She's trapped me.
That's right. And that was from early on. I would do that because there wasn't nothing to do. There wasn't anywhere where you could go.
Well, and like we didn't have phones that you were like distracted by in the car.
Exactly.
It was like you're singing to the radio or we're talking. Like there was no other thing to do.
And if I turned off the music, then it was like, we're having a discussion.
No. Well, you immediately, I remember just being like, what did I do?
Yeah.
Did
what
I
do
leave
I need
something
to,
out? What could she possibly be like about to say? Am I like, what did I do wrong that I'm getting in trouble for? The music is off.
Right. And I think, I don't know, just trying to have open discussions and listening to your kids. So, yes, discussing all the time and not making it like a scary thing, but just, okay, we need to have a discussion about this.
Yeah.
This could be a problem. It isn't a problem right now. This could be a problem, but let's talk about it.
Yeah.
We need to talk about this, and I want to know what you think about it, and I'm going to tell you what I think about it.
Yeah.
Bottom line is the parent, and they're going to have to make the decisions. So,
what about like when we encountered an obstacle or difficulty, like how did you handle that with us, or like teaching us to overcome just like adversity, or when we were struggling with some things? I feel like that is things that we saw even just from like dad as a coach, and maybe like having losing and then, overcoming like just those behaviors. That was something that was also always instilled in us, like at a young age too.
Yeah. I always felt like, we had things that we did, and if things didn't work out some way, it would be like, I'm kind of a fixer by nature.
That's where I get it from.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I always feel like there is a way.
Yeah.
We can always work it out. No matter what the situation, no matter how bad things get up, and we got to keep moving on.
Yeah.
And how are we going to do that? And so it's like just trying to figure it out. And maybe at a young age, how can you help me with this situation? How can we help each other?
Yeah.
How can what do you think would be a good idea for us to do?
Yeah.
Because then that allows you to become part of the process.
Yeah. Like problem solving.
One of the things I did with my students every year, and then I thought I did it with us as well, but I had, as a whole, the class, we would make our rules up together. So these are the rules, but we're going to have rules. We're going to have 5 rules in this classroom. And what are these rules going to be? What do you think the rules should be? And so we would all, as a classroom, figure out what the rules of the classroom were going to be. And it was really amazing because they would be kind of stricter than what I would think. But the fact that they made the rules up and that we made them up together as a classroom, they were more apt to follow them.
Yeah.
So, and I brought that home.
A part of
it. So it was good. And then when they broke the rules, they didn't like breaking the rules.
Yeah.
So they would, I felt that was a really good thing to do at the beginning of the year. So I think that helps when you allow kids to be a part of the decision making.
Yeah.
In a sense, you're the bottom line. Teachers are the bottom line. You're the bottom line. But if they can be part of it, then they take some ownership to it, I think.
I feel like another thing, when I was more like in high school, middle school, high school, I like knew that you were my parent. Like you weren't trying to be my friend. And so then, which we had a great relationship, but I also feel like I had friends whose parents were too much of their friend. And then like the lines got blurred. And that's one thing I always look back on, and I'm like, I just appreciate like how it was a very clear, like, I am your parent. Like, as a parent, like, my responsibility is to keep you safe, like help you make decisions, but like correct you when you aren't making the right decisions. You will get in trouble. Here's how, but like teaching us to overcome. And then that allowed us to then have like a good friendship after I was out of the house.
Absolutely. I think so too. And I think that that parents, sometimes when you, like, even when you have time out, let's say, and you put a child in time out for something, I mean, it's almost like, I need a timeout. Like, we need a timeout from each other right now because we're upset, or a rule got broken and blah, 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 blah. Let's take a breather. Let's take a few minutes and always come together after that and always go, okay, what just happened? let's talk about it. And what can we do better next time? It doesn't mean that it's going to stop immediately. It just means that,
we're going to problem solve together.
Correct. And this, let's talk about it. Was this a good thing to do or not? If we do this again, what should we do next time? Blah, 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 blah. And I think that's really important. And sometimes you have time to do that and sometimes you don't.
Right.
But if you can do it as much as you possibly can, then, nobody's perfect. Parents aren't perfect.
Yeah.
Teachers aren't perfect. But there are a lot of things that I think you can put in place to try and make the situation as best as you can.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so then once Jared and I were both out of the house as adults, how was the empty nesting transition?
Woohoo!
Well, I feel like I was out of the house and then Jared kind of straggled a little.
Yeah.
So he stayed a little longer just because of all of his like surgeries and just different things.
Yep.
So you kind of like dipped your toe at times, it felt like.
Yeah.
But Dad was still working. So it was, I mean, and I know he's now retired and y'all are like living this, like you're kind of getting the second retirement, like spark.
Right.
With him.
Mm-hmm. I think that with Dad and I think in families, as much as you possibly can, the relationship between the mom and dad need to really be a priority.
Yeah.
Kids need to see their parents loving each other, trying to work things out always. And, if there's a disagreement or whatever, and not doing it in front of the kids, but like as much as you can, just work things out.
Yeah.
And then kids need to know that things are working out as much as you can.
Right.
And so I think we've always tried to make that a priority. And I think that that's really important. And then, but because of that, not only for the kids, I think it's important for parents, because once the kids do leave, it's just you two, and so Dad and I, because that was a priority for us, I feel like it was easier for us to transition into it. We were really excited about it because we knew that we had worked really, really hard to bring you two up.
Yeah.
We had spent 25 years of our lives like bringing you up the best way that we could. And so we were excited about it. We were ready. We've really enjoyed it. We've gotten, we have to get into our own routine, and we're kind of doing that. And
I know. And now that like the grandkids are back, it's like, we'll FaceTime you like in the morning sometime and you won't answer. I'm like, Nana's still sleeping. She doesn't have to wake up early anymore. So she'll call us back when she wakes up, and they're like, Nana's asleep still? I'm like, well, it's 7:30, so.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go into kind of a few questions just about this like phase of life for you.
Okay.
How would you say your 50s and into your 60s, she's just right over the cusp of 60. How did those compare to your 40s?
I'd have to say that 40s were a lot busier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we were still in the house then.
Yeah. It was just busy, and it was just trying to manage teenagers. You guys are trying to figure out life on your own too. And I think the hardest part for me, really, Dad was still working, but the hardest part for me was like pulling myself away from you guys. Because, as a parent, you're like pretty attached to your kids, and you're trying to make sure they're doing all the right things. But then there's a time where you've got to start pulling away a little bit, and just knowing when that was really hard for me to kind of pull away. But I knew I had to do it, but it was kind of a hard thing. Now I just feel a little bit more at ease.
Yeah.
You guys are living your own lives. You've got your own kids. And you just have to step back and let you guys live your lives. If you guys have any questions, then you can come to you can always come to us. But I think the hardest part is just kind of stepping back and letting you guys do your own thing.
Yeah.
So, but it's wonderful to watch too.
Well, and I mean, like, just in the difference between like 40s, 50s, 60s, just like the aging process, you know, I mean, like, you're very active, but over like that 20 years, it's like, I feel like, you know, menopause happens. Like, there's so much that people like don't really talk about. And then it's kind of like,
I know. And I think it's all, you know, finding a good doctor, finding someone that you can get checked with. I think hormones are really important for women, balanced hormones, balancing your hormones. You know,
doing like, because you do like annual blood work, like I do full panel.
I do full panel hormones, everything.
Yeah.
And so I just think that that's really important, because as you age, you stop, your body stops producing a lot of the hormones. So just to balance them, to get them up to where they should be, I feel like if I'm not balanced, then I'm not thriving. I feel like if I can stay balanced, then I feel like I can thrive more. I can be a better wife. I can be a better grandma. I can be a better, you know,
well, and you've always, your health has always been so important to you.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like even now more than anything, you know, just what you put in your body is so important, and, you know, what is available for us to consume. It's like almost harder to find what is going to actually like nurture you and continue to like keep you healthy, drinking water, like all of those things. Do you have any tips for maybe people who are in the same like spot as you, as far as like food, or just like any suggestions that you can give?
I think just water's huge. Water, electrolytes are huge, especially in the summer. You know, clean eating.
Yeah.
And what works best for you, I think trying to stay away from processed. If you can stay away from processed, there's so many things in it.
We could go on like an entire separate podcast episode.
Absolutely,
that would be like mom discussing like her findings.
I love health. That was part of my major, health education, and I have always been very interested in it. There's a lot more. I feel like there's a lot more information available nowadays, and I have more time. So because I have more time, I kind of get going down a rabbit hole, and I'm like, oh, this is awful. And so I'll send you guys stuff, and I'll be like, did you know this? Did you know this? Be careful with this.
Which is great. I feel like she starts planting these seeds, and it usually takes like a year for me to like really get on board. And then by the time like a year is up, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess if I look back, like you have been telling me that for a while, and now I'm like finally listening.
Yeah. Well, and I know you're busy too. There's a lot of stuff that I read, and a lot of stuff that I could send you, but I try to just go, okay, I'll just send this little snippet, and that might just like really plant important. A seed. Yeah. This is, hopefully, you know, that the things that I do send are the things that I'm going, oh, really look at this. Yeah. Because there's a lot of other stuff that
I know.
Yeah.
I just think like taking care, it's never too late to start.
I agree.
But it also is something that's kind of like, you do want to elongate your life, you know, and eating healthy and clean and organic when you can, and making some of these like better choices. It feels like.
Yeah. And I think moving too. I think movement is huge, and you don't have to be a big workout person or anything, but if you can just get out and walk.
Right. Or even like, I mean, you are like a pickleball queen.
Yeah. Well, I love pickleball.
You know, so I mean, like, but you will spend hours like playing pickleball, and that's like your exercise.
Exactly. Dad and I have always, the other thing that's been kind of fun is throughout our whole lives, we've always either run together or now we're running and walking together, you know, but that's a great time to communicate. Like we might have a discussion that we're like, no, I think this and I think this or whatever. But then we're like, okay, you want to go for a walk? Okay. So we'll go for a walk. And we have solved so many problems.
Yeah.
walking or running,
Yeah.
that's like our thing. And it'll be like, you're by yourselves. You can
Right.
discuss, we're going on a long walk. Let's figure
Well,
this
and
out.
there has to be something connected to like moving your body and like just
clearing
your brain.
Yeah. Yes.
And but like if that's, I mean, I remember y'all always like going for walks, especially like once we got to an age where we could like be home by ourselves.
Yes.
If y'all needed to like go talk something out, it was like, hey, we're going on a walk. Like we'll be back in 30 minutes.
Right.
And it's like, I at the time was just like, okay, cool, y'all are just going on a walk. But now I know like, oh, there was probably like a discussion that needed to happen.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And I didn't want to, I think yes, you're going to have some discussions that are going to be maybe a little heated in front of your kids. But I don't think it's, if you can try not to have those discussions in front of your kids, I think it's the best. I mean, they got to see with little,
like how to have those conversations. But I feel like I remember I almost to a fault was just like, gosh, my parents have this perfect marriage. Yeah. My standards are so high. Like I'm never going to find somebody who, is they're just like so compatible together. And then as I got older and as I got into like, I remember when I was like dating Chris and engaged, I started like, it was almost like the onion for y'all started peeling back a little, and you would be like, well, I know it kind of seemed like that, but like this is how we handled this. Or I remember there was a time we were at the lake, like I remember this like it was yesterday, and we're sitting on the boat and there's other people around, and you and Dad were like disagreeing about something, and you're like, Jeff, we will talk about this later, and he just like dropped it. And I remember like Debbie like looking over and was like, see, JB, like we need to just table the discussion and have it. And I was just like, that's so true. Like they made it like a promise to each other, or had some prior communication that was like, if this is happening in front of other people, like, and one of us says like, let's have this conversation later, we respect that about, and we will have it later. But there were just so many things I feel like I then, once I was at a place to like have a relationship, you were able to kind of tell me like, well, this was really sometimes like this is what that meant, or whatever. Right. But I also feel like I would rather have like high expectations for myself and like for a future partner. I think that's than important. The opposite. Right. Or not know how to like have those conversations and that type of thing. Right. It's just fascinating. Just kind of on this topic, I know there's 2 podcasts I've done in the past that you've really enjoyed listening to, and I feel like this is a good place to just kind of drop them in. If you have heard like this last 10 minutes of this conversation and you're kind of like, I really want some more tips on that. The interview I did with Dr. James was so great. He gives some great pointers on just like how to get your health back in check.
Excellent. I follow him and I agree with like, everything.
You were one of the first people that were like, oh my gosh, do you follow this guy? Like,
well,
look at
I
what
was
he's saying.
sending you some stuff. I was like, okay, this guy, he's on it. Just okay, all the things that I've been saying to you, this is where I'm getting it. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, he's really good.
That's a great episode to go back and listen to,
for sure.
And then also the podcast with Bridget, who is my nutritionist.
Yeah,
so much of what she talks about is what. Like, I remember when I first started talking with her, I was like, yeah, my mom said that. Or, yeah, my mom started doing that for us when we were, I'm like, it's funny how all of those things are lining up to like what this like dietitian is saying. But she gives so many like tips in that episode too. If you're just looking for a place to start and like what clean eating, like how to go about picking what you put on your plate. Right. And I feel like there was a lot of that you were like, oh, I loved this too.
Oh, I know. It was great. And I know that it, sometimes it can be overwhelming to try and get things in order. But I think if you can just take it little by little, and like Dr. James is really big about that. Just like he puts, bullet points of just do this. So do 2 or 3, or, just try to do the best you can, just taking certain things maybe out of your pantry, not allowing those back in your pantry. I mean, it doesn't mean you'll never get to have them again. Right. But just maybe clean up for a little bit and
kind of get in a habit.
Yeah.
And I mean, I read something on his post the other day just about how if you stop eating sugar, your body will stop craving sugar.
Correct. Yes.
So like, and then he listed like, here's some replacements when you feel like you want to eat sugar or you have like a sweet tooth, eat these like 3 things first, or drink a glass of water, or, you know, there's like even just some berries that you could like throw, like pick up a handful of blueberries and eat that. And that can usually like hit that craving, but it's just like little things that easy changes you can make, easy like changes for your kids when they're like, hey, I want candy. Hey, actually, I have a thing of raspberries. Let's have raspberries instead.
Let's do raspberries. Yeah. I would do, and I've told you this before, but when I would come and pick you up in the afternoon, a lot of times you guys would be like, oh, I'm so hungry. So I would bring things that I knew were healthy. Like I'd bring apple slices, or I'd bring something. I wouldn't bring like, you know,
chips
or whatever.
Something.
I would bring something, and normally you wouldn't have chosen that,
right?
But because that you were hungry,
so hungry
and it was there, you were eating it, and I'm like, yeah, got it in, you know.
No, it's so true.
Yeah,
I think about that with just like going through like the pickup line now, you know, and they are always like, oh, I want like, what are you bringing for my afternoon snack? And it's like such an easy opportunity to be like, well, here's your cup of apples and a cheese stick or whatever.
Right.
So I feel like those 2 episodes are great. We'll link those in the show notes. So feel free to scroll down and listen to those after this. Okay. So how has your outlook on life changed in this season of life? I feel like people learn a new perspective with each new decade. And obviously there's changes over the past several decades, but kind of, what would you say if your outlook has changed at all?
I think, I don't know, just kind of being more at ease about things. You look around and you see all things that are going on in the world, and you can be really worried about a lot of things or concerned about a lot of things. But I think that you've got to think about, what can I do that I'm in control of?
Yeah.
I mean, if I can't really do too much about X, Y, and Z, then why am I worrying about it?
Right.
You know, don't, put that on yourself. So to just try and, just take a breath, relax, get out and be in the morning. I like to get out and go walk around in the yard.
Yeah.
I'll take my coffee and just walk. Yeah. Grounding. Yeah. I love that. I love, of course, if I can be at the beach, then that's even better than, because walking on the sand is amazing. But yeah, just getting out and just taking a breath, relaxing, just trying to, I don't know, just be more at peace than being, when you're in your 40s or you're raising your family and stuff like that, you got to be on it.
Yeah.
You got to be more on it. There's not as much time for that. Hopefully you can give yourself some grace and time that you can do that, because I think it's really important.
Right.
I would probably wish I would have done a little bit more of that. For me, I think it was like getting out for a run or making sure that I stayed active while I was bringing you guys up, because that was a part that I could just kind of like breathe. Yeah. So giving yourself some time to do something. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say is the best part of this season of life?
I think just not having to, I am a list person, and I do like to have things in order, but I think it's just finally realizing that, look, if something doesn't get done today, I mean, I can just do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, and it's taken time to kind of grow into that, because I've been like, okay, this is my list. I got to get it done. And it's really funny because I've been retired 10 years more than Dad. And Dad's just retired now. And Dad's also a list person. So Dad's like, okay, I got this. I got to get this done today too. And I'm like, why? Why do you have to get this done today? Like, do we have anything to do tomorrow? Like, let's just do it tomorrow. Why don't we do it tomorrow? And so it's been kind of fun just watching him and he's just slowing. I can see like, okay, he is putting things off to the next day, and it's like, we'll get it done.
Yeah.
It'll be done. So it's just, I guess, just this time of life, I feel like you just have more time to do things, and
it's true.
So it's kind of nice,
a little more relaxing.
Yeah. So if you can realize that while you're a parent and you're parenting really hard, and it seems like, oh my goodness, is this ever gonna end? You know, it's almost like when you have children when they're really little and they're babies, and you're going, oh my gosh, are we ever going to be out of this stage?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're 5 years old and go into kindergarten. It's like, where did the time go?
I know.
You know? So if you can, just be steadfast all the way till it's your time to relax, then and try to give yourself a little bit of relaxing in the interim if you can. Yeah.
That's what would you say is the hardest part of this season?
I guess trying to be on the same schedule, like Dad and I trying to be on the same schedule.
Yeah.
And we're figuring it out, but it's kind of funny because like Dad had an administrative assistant that he would just like, I need that, da-da. And so every now and then he'll do that with me. Like I need to, and I'm like, well, are you going to do it?
Because you're like, I'm actually not your secretary.
And I've said that a couple of times. I'm not your secretary. And I know she was amazing, and I know that she did anything you wanted. But right now, I'm doing this. Like I'm like doing something that I was specific, and so it's us just figuring it out. And it's even now.
Like
he'll say,
learning.
He's like, yeah, are you busy right now? And I'll say, give me 10 minutes. I'm just going to finish doing this, and then I'll help you. So,
and then he's probably like, I'll just figure it out myself.
Yeah. And so sometimes he does do that. And so then it's like, oh, good.
Well, it's so funny because he'll also call Chris and be like, hey, I need your help on this. Can you stop by and like help me like reset the internet or do whatever? And Chris is like, I'm just like tech support for your parents, like I got to go to your parents' house. And, and I'm like, don't you love living back in town with them? It's so funny.
I love it.
Like, he does love it.
Yes, it's great.
That's so funny. Okay, what would you tell yourself in your 20s that you know now? Like if you could go back and tell your 20-year-old self something, what would you tell her?
I think I would tell her to just chill, take a little chill. Because because Dad was gone a lot with the team and traveling, and it was wonderful, and we traveled with them as much as we could. But because there were some seasons that were a lot busier than others, everything fell on Mom. Yeah. And so that meant that I had to like work double time. So I was, alone. And so I had to do a lot of things. And so I didn't feel like sometimes I took it seriously, because parenting is serious. Yeah. But, I was also working too. So I had to manage and balance working and, grading papers and putting kids to bed. Kids always came first. You guys always came first. And a lot of times my grading and everything happened after you went to bed, unless I had you guys
helping.
Helping, or I'd spread things out on the floor and you'd put things in numerical order. And I was like, this is great. I
know. I remember like helping grade your papers when I got older.
Yes. When you got older and I was the younger, it was like I would give you the key and I would say, okay, you do this one. It was a simple thing. And of course she wasn't allowed to put the grades on. Right. Remember, I wouldn't let you put the grades on because I had to like double check, of course, to make sure which you were fine.
But it was always like an easy like help or like
and I think you enjoyed it. I think it was a good thing for you as well. But I would say just chill, just kind of not maybe try to enjoy your kids, time that you have with your kids, and if you're off schedule just a little bit, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I
probably was a little bit more uptight just because, like I said, trying to get everything done, but.
I know.
But as I look back now, I'm because I'm watching you guys. And so sometimes I'll see you guys and you guys are doing the blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, just chill. Kids, come here.
Yeah.
So if I can Nana's come house. To Nana and
I'll give you some ice cream before dinner.
Or it's so nice because my parents weren't around. Dad's parents weren't around. So I didn't have that. Whereas, anytime that I'm over there and I see you're busy and you guys are trying to stay in order or whatever, if I can just like grab one of the girls. So I'll like grab Collins or I'll grab Hazel and just walk around or do something that just can lighten it. Just even, it's amazing how much it can lighten it. Yeah.
Well, and there's like, because Chris had his grandparents like right down the street when he was growing up. So like he doesn't know. To him, this is so normal that y'all are there.
Which is such a blessing. I mean, I'm so thankful for that. And I think of it all the time. I'm like, and I tell Dad, I'm like, Chris this is what Chris grew up with, and he loved it. So we should be very thankful for that. That the kids
y'all
want
were
us around. Yeah,
totally.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I'm like, I'm sorry, like they're just coming around, like if you like it or if you don't. No, I mean he loves y'all, so it's totally fine. But it's been so nice to just, I mean, and so thankful we moved back. You know, which was kind of always in the back of my mind. I was telling Chris like, well, and we're going to move home to be close to my parents, you know, like just need you to know that will happen one day.
Right. And I think it's important. There needs to still be that balance though. Like we can't take advantage of that. And we have to be careful to let you guys live your lives and not get too far. And hopefully, you know, if we did, it would be like you pulling me aside now and going, okay, Mom, we need to have this conversation.
Get you in the car.
Get me in the car.
Put your phone down. It's funny because I feel like you guys are in this like travel mode right now of just like living and going about and all of this stuff. And we're like, okay, like maybe they can help us with this. And then you're like, oh, well, we're traveling or we're gone. And Chris and I are like, gosh, like when are they going to be here? Like we need you. Like,
well, I've told Dad, I'm like, we need to take like Chris and Brittany, they need to come over just for dinner by themselves. And we just need to get our calendars out and we all need to look at the calendars and pop down what's going on because we want to help with the kids. Right. But if we've already got something planned, then you know that kind of
Spain pops up. Like, why not?
And if you see our schedule, then you can work around it as well. So
I know I need to.
We'll talk
off air about a few dates. So speaking of traveling, we have a very exciting trip coming up.
Oh, we do.
To Paris in a few weeks, less than 4 weeks. We're going to the Paralympics. Which is exciting. So exciting. My brother is competing in the men's long jump. He has a below the knee amputation on one leg. And so this is his 4th Paralympic Games, which is crazy.
It's amazing.
I still feel like London was like yesterday. I remember that trip like it was yesterday.
I know. It's unreal. I was looking at pictures the other day. Our pictures, we looked so different.
Oh my gosh, crazy. I know. It was wild, but that was so much fun. And
we did have the best time.
This time, like everybody's going. We're taking the kids. Leah, Jared's family is going, and her family will be there. And it's just like going to be this big circus of all of us there. Okay, what are you packing for Paris?
I'm trying to become such a good packer, and it's really hard to do. So I don't know. I think I'm going to try and do like just I don't know, like black things that match with like that I can wear 2 and 3 outfits. Yeah. Like a capsule of some sort. So I've been pulling up capsules and throwing them on my Pinterest and going, okay. And then I'm looking at it going, how can I only bring those items and do all of that? So it's like, if I do that, I'm probably going to have to bring like a printout of the pictures so that I can like just do it each day.
You know what I need to do? I really should actually come over and help you pack, and you should try on everything, and I'll take a picture of it on your phone.
Okay.
Of you like trying it on.
Good idea.
And then we will save all those pictures to an album that we just title on your phone called Paris.
Yes.
So then when you're there and you're like, what was I going to wear this with? Yes. You can just scroll back and be like, oh yeah, those pants.
That's brilliant.
You have like 12 pictures, and it's like your 12 outfits or whatever.
Yeah. That'd be perfect.
I help you do that.
Yeah. Do you need me to do that to you too? Because I can take pictures of you.
You know, I appreciate
or
that.
Or are you just going to throw it all in?
It's harder for me to pack.
It is, because you've got.
You know, a lot of it is like partially it's like showing people like what you should take or what you should wear, ideas. Right. And then the other part of it is like things that are available to purchase.
Right.
You know, because a lot of times like people get frustrated if I'm wearing something that they can't then buy to recreate the look, or I'm going to Paris a month after you. I want to take like all of what you just took, but it's all gone or it's not available to buy.
Right.
So working through that or providing similar options.
Right.
I am such an overpacker because it's a lot more of like, I like changing outfits. I like wearing multiple things in a day just to provide ideas for people.
Right.
But I know there's limited, suitcases that are going to be coming, and we're packing for the kids. And it's going to be
maybe if we do that for me, then that'll leave more room in the suitcase, and you can use that.
Exactly. We're staying,
or I'll give you an extra suitcase
together.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be like, okay, I'm coming to get my side of your suitcase that I needed.
Right.
Yeah. So I know I'm trying to think just what I was talking to Samantha. She's coming with us too, which was so fun.
Yeah.
And she's like, let me know what I need to pack. And I'm like, okay, we really need to like figure out our plan for kind of each day so we can know what to pack and know what to bring. And
we should look at that probably.
We do need to get that.
I think neutral. I'm going to try to do as neutral as I can. Because I think, mixing.
I think one thing I have appreciated, and I know you follow other influencers on Instagram too, but several people I follow have gone to Paris this year, like this summer.
Oh, good.
And so there is a lot of like I feel like there's so many more pictures of people in Paris right now. So it's like just doing some research and just like, what did people wear? Like, what is the vibe there? Like Parisian style is so classic and timeless.
It
is very
easy
to recreate those outfits, because it's like, what are those comfortable pieces? What are that you can maybe add a flair with? Like, I bought this handbag that I'm like wanting to style a lot lot of outfits around, and that's what I will like plan to use.
Yeah.
But it's black and white. It's very classic. And that can be my like kind of statement piece. But then some
maybe
more
a scarf
options,
or like just something to add a little bit of color.
Exactly.
Or earrings or
totally.
Yeah, that would be fun.
I think there's a lot we'll be able to do with our outfits.
I learned that from Loverly.
You're funny. Okay, so I can't remember. Will we be able to see Jared prior to his competitions, or will we be able to hang out with him like when I feel like some of the times we were able to go around and do stuff when we were in London.
When we were in London, we really could, the way it was set up. I think that the village is a little bit further out than it was in London. Like, I feel like everything was right there, Stratford Station, like Stratford Mall and everything was right there.
Close by.
Yeah. I feel like we may be able to, but it's going to have to be really planned. And then, but I don't think it's going to be as much as it was in London. So
I know.
His coach is coming this week, Dan. I think he picked him up yesterday. Okay. So I'll, we'll find out.
Figuring out all
a little
the
bit of
details.
That. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you still get nervous when you watch him compete?
I really do.
I do too.
Oh my gosh.
Just like,
but like, and I guess now, he's.
Although I think I was a lot more nervous when he was like running competitions, running, and other people are there and it's like against. Whereas now for long jump, it's like you want him to do well, but no one else is running at the same time as him.
Correct.
Jumping.
Which is much better. The only thing I worry about now is just like the scratch.
Yeah,
but
like making sure he hits the line.
Yeah, and it doesn't scratch or anything. Then it's
a little bit more measured.
Yeah, and it's so much. I don't get as nervous as I did.
I know.
All.
I even got
worried
nervous.
When the starts.
Yeah,
the
yesterday I'm watching the men's 100.
Yeah,
and and I'm just like, this is the time where I'm like, I can't look at. Is it gonna,
I know.
Doing all these like. I don't want to look.
I know.
Because I just get so nervous for them. And
I know.
I am just amazed that Noah I think Lyle's got, he won, but it was so close. Like I was like, oh, he for sure got second. I thought the Jamaican beat him.
Yeah.
But and then like they're kind of doing their lap, like still not really sure who won. Yeah. And we've lived that like, what's the final time? Like, what's the final time? Like, did he break this record? Did he not? You know?
Or you're looking at the board just waiting for it to come up because you know it's going to come up. And then, it's the craziest thing.
It does get I feel like a little stressful being there. And it's like,
I think once the gun went off when he was sprinting, if he could get out of the blocks and everything was smooth out of the blocks, then I was fine.
Yeah.
It was just getting out of the blocks. When he was a distance runner, he used to really make me nervous because he liked to just kind of sit back.
Yeah. And let everyone get tired.
And then the last, he would sit in the end and then just at the last lap would fly around everybody. And I was just like, oh my gosh, is he going to have enough to do it? Is he tiring himself out? And so then you're waiting for the whole mile to finish or the whole half. So it was a little bit more stressful, I think.
I know. It is crazy.
Yeah. It's crazy.
For those of y'all who are maybe like don't know the backstory on my brother or like any details about him, I actually just interviewed him on the podcast, and that episode is going to be going live next week. So you'll get my mom and then you'll get my brother. So make sure to come back for that because he tells his story. We kind of just discuss like the Paralympics. He tells us all about like the process and then kind of gives us a little bit of like his plan afterwards. So that is a really great episode that you'll be able to listen on. That's going to be coming out next week. So if you have some questions, that's one to listen to for sure. What would you say you're most excited for with going to Paris?
Gosh. I think just I love Luxembourg Gardens. I can't wait it's a beautiful gardens and it's got so much to do there. Like it's got a huge playground. Yeah. So I'm excited for the kids. They've got a really cool water feature that's like a big huge pond.
Oh, cool.
Where they have you rent these little sailboats that they're kind of big sailboats or and you put them in the water and then the kids direct them. They get a stick and they direct them, like send them across, and then they run around the other side and send their sailboat, like they follow their sailboat, but there's a whole bunch of little sailboats in there.
Right. That you got to pay attention.
Yeah. And so I'm really excited for that. I think the kids are going to really like that. Levi's going to we may not get him away from there because he'll probably be just attached to it. Yeah. So, but the playground is amazing. So it'll be a fun place to just kind of be around. There's great places to eat, walking.
Well, and it's kind of nice that you and Dad have recently been to Paris.
Last year, it was wonderful.
You guys kind of like got your bearings or like an idea of where we're going back to, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah, there's some cool places, so it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. The girls just are so ready to go. They are just beyond excited. Yeah, and I'm excited for them to experience just traveling and all of that. It's gonna be.
See the Eiffel Tower, for them to see something so big.
Yeah.
Because it's so big. It'll be kind of fun for them to see, like, it's just different. The architecture is different there. It's just kind of, it'll be a cool vibe for them, I think.
I'm really excited. Okay, I have a few questions that aren't on this paper, so you don't know they're coming.
Okay.
But our followers, every time that you are on the podcast or on Loverly Gray, they just love you. So
sweet.
They always want you back on. But I figured if I asked a few questions and you could maybe share some of your favorites, they would love to know that. So where is your favorite place to shop?
TJ Maxx.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're such a Maxxinista.
Yeah. I just love it because it's always different.
Yeah.
It's always different. So
there's always something new.
I feel like when I go there, I get to, and it depends on the mood you're in too, because you go in and you just kind of look and you're like, it's so therapeutic for me.
Yeah. Like that's like your therapy.
It is therapy. I mean, just get a coffee and just
walk,
browse. And I don't even have to buy anything, which I usually do because the prices, I mean, they're so good. The home goods part of it, I love it. I love just walking through the home goods part of it. There's so many beautiful treasures.
Yeah.
There's so many beautiful things from different parts of the world that's just kind of really unique and fun.
Yeah. My friends are always like, saw your mom in TJ Maxx today.
I know.
Saw your mom at Home Goods. And I'm
Yep. I know.
It's weird if you don't see her there.
I know.
What has been something you've recently bought on Amazon that you have loved?
Oh, Amazon. I've bought some dresses, just some summer dresses.
Yeah.
Just some shorter ones.
Like have gotten like workout dresses.
I have gotten some really good workout dresses on there, and they're really the last one that I got on there, it was so lightweight that it's amazing, especially at this time of the year when it's so hot out. I mean, you walk outside and it's like it's like, what can I wear that's not gonna so yeah, the workout clothes, I like that. It's easy to get on that.
I know. It's kind of like, it's just so convenient.
It really
and the quality is really good.
It is. And I just love the return policy. Yeah. So
if you try it, doesn't work.
Right. So if I just order different things, and sometimes you'll look at it and you'll go, oh my gosh, that's really beautiful. And then you get it and it's the quality might not be what you thought. And it doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes it does.
Totally.
Just the ease of putting it back in the bag and then just dropping it by, UPS on my way to TJ Maxx.
Yeah. Conveniently located.
Right. Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. Okay. What's your go-to coffee order?
Oh, my go-to coffee order is Americano with extra heavy cream. And steamed heavy cream.
Heavy cream. She likes to
heavy cream.
If it could burn your hand while you're holding it, like it needs to be hotter.
Right, right. And then I just let it sit for a little bit. Yeah. Because I don't want to burn my hand. So But it's
you
hot.
Always steam the heavy cream.
I steam the heavy cream because if I don't steam the heavy cream, then it just cools down too quickly.
Yeah.
So
no one wants that.
No.
Okay. What is your favorite food? What's your favorite food?
I've got so many favorite foods. I'd have to say a good steak.
So would you, okay, let's rephrase this.
Okay.
What is like, if you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what do you think it would be?
I'd have a steak every day.
Okay.
I'd have a steak every day because to me, it's so nutrient dense.
Yeah. Well, if the benefits of eating like a good.
Yeah. Like grass-fed, grass-finished. Yeah.
So true.
Yeah. So I would probably pick that because I grew up, my dad, grandpa was a butcher and we owned our meat market for years. And so I've grown up eating meat my whole life.
Yeah.
And my body's very comfortable with that. So I kind of crave it.
Yeah.
So
what would you say is like one skincare routine that you like cannot live without?
Well, as I've aged, I've noticed I need more moisture.
Mm-hmm.
So I've actually been using like a tallow cream on my face, and it just, my face just kind of just
drinks it up
like crazy. That is really important. I just, again, clean ingredients. I'm all about clean ingredients. If I look at, and it could be a really good product, but then I'll look at the ingredients and I'm like, dang it, I'm not real comfortable, but I will kind of look at the ingredients and I'll pull up the ingredients and then I'll read what it is. And, I'm just like, oh, well, I don't know.
And I think that's also something that's come with like where you are in your stage of life. You have the time to like look into this.
Right.
There's a lot of times I'll be like, I'm trying to decide between these two things. And you'll be like, let me do some research on it. I'll tell you.
Right.
Because you have the time. And so then I'm like, okay.
Right. And then you just have to go with people that you trust. So if you follow certain people, trust and, trust that that they're telling you correctly about certain products that they use. And so,
Totally.
if you don't have the time, then trust somebody that probably is putting the time into it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, wrapping up our episode today, which has been so much fun. I have one question that I always ask my guests at the end. What is an act of kindness someone has extended to you that has had a lasting impact on your life?
I would have to say that when we took Jared up to Indianapolis for his amputation, and you probably remember this, but one of my dear friends who I ran with at Georgia, Beth, we've kept in touch. So I was here at Georgia and we ran together, but then we've been separated for years and years and years and years. And she was from Indianapolis, and but every single Christmas, we would send our Christmas cards and we would send pictures of our families. And so we had pictures of and that's how we stayed in contact. Like we just, basically it was our Christmas stuff.
Right.
And then as soon as we knew that Jared was going to have his amputation in Indianapolis, I called Beth and I told her, and she took us in like it was nothing. Yeah. Like it was her thing to do. And it was really cool. She brought us this huge basket the size of this table, and it was filled with magazines and
just like
magazines and water and everything that we would need at the hospital.
Yeah.
It was just like
snacks
snacks
so
for
we
you
wouldn't
guys.
have to go.
So we wouldn't have to leave or go or do anything. And it was just, I thought it was just the kindest thing ever. Yeah. And then even all Jared's follow-ups, she would pick him up at the airport and take him. He stayed at her house, and or if he was staying at the hotel, she would make sure that he got back to the airport. Like she just went above and beyond, and I just have never forgotten that. And if I can ever just like do half of what she did to somebody who's in need, like carry something to them, or when they're in a situation where they can't get things, like if you can just run around and go get it for them.
Right.
And then drop it by their place or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she just like showed up in such a just like vulnerable time and just like worried about just what's going to happen. What is this new life going to be like? And there were things I feel like we weren't even able to like think about, but she had already like thought about it for us.
Yeah. And it was like, oh my gosh, because we would have had to think about them.
Totally.
But because she did that, we didn't have to think about it.
Yeah.
So
that's so
it
true.
was really wonderful. So
I do remember that. And I do feel like you guys always did like keep in contact. I felt like I like knew her family just from like seeing them over the years and getting the Christmas cards, and then you know they've been down to visit since then.
Yeah, we've met them at games, like when we had our national championship up there. We were together up there for national championship. We got to see them. So we have
crazy.
That was a lot of fun.
Well, Mom, this has been a great way to start our Monday and take my mind off of Collins and Hazel's starting school.
Yes. I can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I know. They're probably going to be like, we got to call Nana and Papa. Or you'll just go ahead and come over later, because I'm sure they're going to want to tell everybody.
Right.
But thank you so much. I think you've given some great tips for teachers, for parents of, kids going back to school. So I think this has been such a great episode. We've got some fun stuff that we're going to be sharing on Instagram this week too, in coordination with this post. So make sure you tune in there for some more details, and we'll share the links to some of the things that Mom was talking about as well. So friends, until next time.